What's up guys, Brandon here with Wake Your Neighbors. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about my 3LT and honestly why I would have went with a 2LT now looking back at it. I did want the 2LT no matter what because of the couple options that I'm going to go over. That is the difference between the base, the 2LT, and the 3LT. But then I'm also going to show you the number one problem with the 3LT and something that Chevrolet doesn't back its actual buyers with, and that is when you're at that extended warranty point, they just completely throw it out the window. Going into it, I knew I wanted the 2LT. Of course, the heads-up display, bigger, brighter, absolutely everything I needed out of that compared to the C6, which was probably one of my favorite aspects of having that car. So when I wanted this car, that's the first thing I knew between the base and then that 2LT that I needed. Now, going from the 2LT to the 3LT, I wouldn't make a substantial jump. It just happened to fall into my hands of a good price 3LT. We jump into the 3LT. Now there isn't much of a difference between the 3LT, but the number one thing that it does come with is the interior. It is upgraded a little bit more. On the seats here, you're gonna see that there's the suede inserts, which are great. I didn't want all leather here in Florida, so having that option come about was absolutely amazing because that leather doesn't get heated. You don't sweat your ass off the entire time. And now, the biggest thing of all though is it comes with leather trim on that dash. With leather, as it heats up, it shrinks. So in this Florida sun, as your car's just sitting, say I'm at a local Starbucks for 4 hours working, as it's sitting there, it's baking and it's shrinking, and while it's shrinking, it's pulling out all of that stitching. All of the glue underneath is now shifting and moving, and once that starts to happen, then it's shot. When you take it to the Chevy dealer, of course, they're not going to recognize it as that extended warranty. As someone who has had multiple Corvettes, I think that this is just absolute shit. The most expensive car I have is one of the simplest things about it is now coming up, and it looks awful. In the video ahead, I'm going to show you how much it's actually happening. And I only had this car now about 3 months. When I first got this car, I don't know if the dealership covered it up somehow, but in that 3-month time, this thing has absolutely ruptured into one big mess. So as you can see from here, it is starting to pull just a little bit around the vent. Now, from that vent, you can see how it's starting to bubble, and that bubble gets even worse as you go here. As I push, you're gonna see that bubble actually move. What that means is all that glue from under there is completely shot. I'm gonna shift around to the front here in a second, but you can see along the lines here, you're gonna see that that's actually lifting up. Now, they do tuck it underneath the vents there and actually stitch it, but that stitch is popping out because there's so much stretch in that leather. Coming from a front standpoint, tried not to get that glare, but you can see from the speaker itself, it's peeling. And then the worst part about it is all around here, from that temperature gauge on down. And with that, it's not a cheap fix. A lot of Chevy dealers have quoted right around that $3 grand. I get on the forums, and a lot of people are in this situation with this 3LT. Now, there is a couple options. I can redo it myself, which taking apart the entire dash will not be easy, but it is an option. I don't want it to happen again, so in order to do this, I might actually just switch it out completely with a 2LT dash trim. LT dash trim is a plastic, so it's not an actual leather, so it won't have this problem at all. If anything, it might just fade a bit, but I don't want to have that in the foreseen future because, as you can see, it's making my dash look absolutely horrible. Maybe another month of this in the Florida heat and all of it's going to be popping up every day. So that's just my take on the 3LT. Of course, it is going to be your car if you do look into buying one. I'm just trying to point out some really bad issues with the 3LT. I love my car, It is a great daily driver. I have a lot of things planned for this car, as well as we have a lot of things planned for the Camaro and the GTO. If you haven't seen those yet, check out the Instagram or the other videos, Wake Your Neighbors. So subscribe, like. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great night.